Monday, September 12th, 2022, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at silver, whether the silver squeeze movement is finally getting underway. Yes, it has been a frustrating year and a half or so for the silver bugs or the silver apes, the Wall Street silver movement, but I think things are changing. We're going to look at that today. Before we go into silver, I want to talk about inflation and how inflation destroys not only economic freedom, but of course, human freedom. Many people think that political freedom is more important than economic freedom, but I personally think economic freedom is a lot more important. So first of all, I'm going to recommend a book for those of you who have not seen this book or read this book or heard of this book. And the reason why I think it's important is that it will help you understand what money really is, how gold and silver are so important, such an important part, of the equation. It's what government has done to our money. The Case for a 100% Gold Dollar by Murray and Rothbard. Yes, he's a former or late economist of the Austrian School of Economics. He's an American. He was an American economist. And yes, it's not for just people who are studying economics. Anyone can read this book. That's the great thing about the Austrian School. Anybody can read it. It's not just for a university or PhD students. And I think this will help you understand what money is. And I'm not going to go through it right now. What I'm going to talk about right now is how inflation destroys the bourgeoisie, as Lenin said. He said the way to crush the bourgeoisie is to grind them between the millstones of taxation and inflation. And both are the same, taxation and inflation. Some people argue he didn't really say this, but even if he didn't, it makes a lot of sense, this saying. And why? Well, most people nowadays think of inflation as the consequence of it, which is rising prices, which is completely wrong, of course. Inflation is impossible, as I've said many times, without government or their monopoly-created central bank. And why is that? Well, if you go back to this book, money is just like the most marketable commodity that helps indirect exchange. It takes us from bartering, which becomes a little bit difficult. It doesn't lead to innovation, to specialization. And so it takes us from barter to a modern indirect exchange, trading economy. We wouldn't have the modern industrial economy that we have today if we hadn't had money. So it has to have some value. But when government hijacks the system and says that a piece of paper is money, then with a central bank and their agent, commercial private banks, they're able to issue this money out of thin air to buy real things. And that's what inflation is. It's basically theft, and taxation is the same, I would say. And why would it be better under a real money, sound money, gold and silver system? Well, because governments and the central banks wouldn't be able to create those out of thin air. They'd have to borrow it from savers. And when savers notice that governments are abusing their borrowing power, they'll demand more interest for their real money, and that's the whole point of the general public, the market controlling the money, not the central banks, their agent banks and the government doing, and that's where we are now. And the inflation has become so bad that government, for example, here in the UK is more than 50% of GDP. Taxation, which is all to do with it, is the highest ever in 70 years. And we have nothing really in terms of public services, decent public services to show for it. So yeah, that's why we're getting less and less free economic freedom. You can't have economic freedom if they're taxing you up to here. And it was also Warren Buffett's father, Howard Buffett, who was a congressman from Nebraska, who wrote in the Commercial and Financial Chronicle in May 6, 1948, that human freedom rests on gold redeemable money. So I'm going to put a link to this article below in the description. You can read it. Suffice it to say, he notes that the first thing people like Lenin, Mussolini, and Hitler did was outlaw individual ownership of gold. So there you go. And he says as well, you begin to sense that there may be some connection between money, redeemable in gold, and the rare prize known as human liberty. So I'm going to stop at that. Hopefully you share this video far and wide, not just to middle-aged people, but also to young people so they learn about this. That's my hope here, trying to inform the public. Now to silver. Yes, there's been a lot of talk the last few months how the supply of silver in the Comex and also now in the LBMA is dropping quite sharply. How the premiums for junk silver in the States are like 40%, the highest they've been since '08. And despite that, of course, price of silver has been melting down, I think down to 18 or something. I'm not sure where the low was, but things seem to be changing underneath the surface. There's a lot going on, especially on Comex and the LBMA. So just to show you a tweet here from Bullion Star. It was retweeted by Michael, #SilverSqueeze. And it says, it's an article by Bullion Star. I'm going to put a link to that as well in the description. It says, global demand for physical silver is causing unprecedented outflows of silver from the LBMA London vaults. And before I move forward with some more silver information, just wanted to show you a silver coin I bought the other day. And it's a Japanese silver coin from the 1800s. It's a rectangular coin. There you go. I thought it was quite interesting. It's about 8.8 grams. And these rectangular silver coins of Japan, that's what people used before the yen came into existence I think in the 1860s. But it was used from 1599 to 1869. It's called the Gaku Ichibu. I think that's what it's called. If you're in Japan and I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But there's more to the silver situation here. It looks also like in the SLV market, which is the ETF, it's costing a lot to borrow silver. The rate has gone from like 0.18% was like back in the end of, beginning of July, I think, all the way to 4.6%. So it's getting harder and harder to borrow silver for SLV. And the short interest is huge. And this is like not the bullion banks going short here. This is speculators. And they usually get it wrong compared to the bullion banks. So that was interesting. And the other thing as well that's going on Comex, the swap dealers, which are the people who make markets on paper gold, and also Comex, which are the JP Morgans, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citibanks of the world. Well, they're now net long about 20, almost 21,000 contracts in silver, and that's very rare. So we could be due for a big move higher in the paper price of silver. I think that what that would do, that would lower the premiums eventually, because it would, yes, it would free up the supply a little bit. But gold is not, the situation isn't as pronounced as silver. But if silver starts going up, gold will follow as well, but silver will outperform, which is something that we know silver should always do in a precious metals bull market. So there you go. With that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. I'm actually a little earlier today, Billy and I. Well, I see he just got up. He probably wants to get down. I'll get him down later. It's 8 a.m. Yeah. So we got spot gold at $17.20. It's up about $3. We're right near the highs. The low has been $17.11. Silver is at $19.09. It's up 25 cents or 1.3%. High has been $19.13. The low $18.80. Dow futures is up 40. NASDAQ 100 futures up 43. And the S&P futures up 8. FTSE is up 15. Eurostoxx 50 is up 17. The currencies continue to rally here versus the dollar. Pound is up 0.5%, 116.56. Euro is up 1%, 101.42. Dollar though is up versus the yen at 143, up a third. Dollar's down a quarter versus the Swiss franc, 95.77. And the dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 693.35. Quickly look at the dollar ruble. Dollar ruble is at 60.30. So not moving much as usual. Back to the other currencies. Aussie dollar up 0.4, 68.72. Dollar's down 0.2 versus the loonie, just above 130. And the Kiwi dollar is up 0.4 at 61.30. WTI crude is down 0.2% at 85.90. Brent is down 0.5%, 91.90. High grade copper is up a third at 358, and US nat gas is up 1% at 811. Let's check the Dutch TTF nat gas futures. Well, that's down 5% at 195. And to finish off, let's look at the US 10-year yield. That's up 1 basis points at 333. The 2-year is down 1 at 256. Let's see if the UK gilt market is open yet. If there's anything being quoted. Yeah, actually the 2-year yield is up 6 basis points, almost at 310. And the 10-year is continuing to rally as well. That's not a good thing. That means higher debt servicing costs for the UK government and higher mortgage rates for consumers. 10-year, by the way, is up 6 basis points at 316. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And with that, I wish you all a great start to the week. Take care. Bye.